Yeah, here we go. Gotta post that link, huh? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, look at that. All posted and everything. No one's gonna know that I just screenshotted that from the thumbnail of my video. No. No, why would they? I don't think anyone's actually going to show up tonight. It is a night early, isn't it? Yeah, probably not. Hello. Hello, dear viewer. Welcome to the chat. It's so nice to see that you have the right opinion now. Yeah. We're gonna wait just a tiny little bit here as I set things back up a little bit because I am not comfortable with where these things are. Yeah, yeah. That's totally my excuse, and you'll buy it, right? Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so strange to be back after all this time, isn't it? I should probably save the talking. Yeah. Let's see here. Minesweeper. Mm-hmm. Notes. Yeah. You know, it's funny. My notes are titled Shower Wine, and I don't think I've ever talked about shower wine. Like, not yet at least. Oh, my music isn't playing. That's not good. Let's fix that. It's been a while. I missed this. You're about the only one. Let me know if the audio's okay. And, in the meantime, I think we will get started a little bit earlier than usual. Yeah? Yeah. Like, it's 1:40? That's close enough, right? Upload speed looks okay. CPU looks like it's not on fire. 30 frames per second. Not ideal. But, it is what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Hey there. Hi there. Jekyll here. It has been a while since I've been on this channel, huh? I know, everybody's been crying, where's Jekyll, where's Jekyll? But the big red one, you know, he just didn't let me play. Oh, this is going to be a problem, I don't have my chat dock up. I can fix that real easy. Yeah, just like that. Okay OBS, gonna play well with me? I have been messing around behind the scenes, forcing Hyde to do quite a number of recordings in the background, so the OBS settings are a little bit strange. Ah, there we go. That's much better. Yeah, okay. I realize that we are a day early, right? We are just a day early and $1 short, and Jekyll ain't happy about that. But, something happened today, and something happened today, and he might have plans for tomorrow. So, as strange as it is, we're going to be doing a stream a day early. Yeah. Now, what other topic could I discuss than the holidays after this long holiday break? If I did my job well, I made sure that Hyde was putting out content pretty much every day during the holidays. But there were a couple days where, it's true. I did not force him to put content out. I think the actual holidays themselves might have been the only days where he was not actually putting content out. Yeah, which is, I guess, acceptable. it's not ideal. Like, the YouTube algorithms really got on my tail about that. And, I'm pretty much running things for the big red idiot. He doesn't really have a mind for it, you know? We got very lucky there. No, he didn't. We got very lucky there. The big red one, you know, he's more of an ideas guy, right? Like, he's a face. And me, I run things behind the scenes. You might have noticed me in some of the recent videos. I also do a lot of the editing, yeah. So, I put myself in there when they do something really stupid. And they have been. They have not been disappointing me. Like, they've met every expectation I've had for them. Like today, like the hot dog inspector stream, or the hot dog inspector video. I don't know if you noticed that, I don't know if you watched it, but I did put out a video today. And it featured Clown Hyde. Clown Hyde is illiterate, by the looks of things. He doesn't know an O from an R. But that's okay, right? Like, he has very terrible handwriting anyway. I don't think it can be expected of a clown to know how to write. It's funnier that way, isn't it? Yes. Yes, I think so. Yeah. We're gonna be talking about the holidays and, what we were all doing during the holidays. So first, let me just say, I hope you all enjoyed your holidays. I kinda doubt any of you did. Like, holidays have all of these expectations and obligations, and it's just a lot of pain, isn't it? Like, as a kid, you get to enjoy it, maybe. But as an adult, you have to put it together for the kids. And there is a certain joy in seeing the kind of childlike innocence on their faces, right? Yeah, on their faith. Yeah, on their faith in the big red idiots. But, yeah, it is a lot of work, and a lot of people don't really appreciate that until they get older and they have to do it themselves. Which is kind of ironic in my case, because Jekyll does not have children, dear children. Jekyll is, he doesn't have children. So the fact that he has to do it at all is very strange to him. And we're already stuck. But, I do have a big family. And I'm not just talking about Hyde and Clown Hyde and the other one. We don't talk about the other one. We don't talk about the other one. No, I'm talking about my family in general. You know, like Hyde Sr., as Hyde called him. Which is very strange, right? Like, he's not Hyde Sr. If anything, he would be Jekyll Sr., right? Yeah, Henry the First, I think, would be a better way of describing him. He does have a big family, though. I have a big family. And that means I unfortunately, oh, very lucky, have I have a lot of obligations for holidays. And one of the things I do for holidays, we discussed this, what, 2 weeks ago on the last Zatsu-Sweeper, was that I do a lot of baking for the holidays. And you'll be happy to know that I did manage to do all of my baking, except for one. I didn't get to make biscotti this year. No. It's kind of a shame, really. The biscotti is one of my favorites, right? Like, it goes so well with coffee, and it goes so well when you're drinking. A lot of people don't realize this, but the traditional Roman way to eat biscotti is by dunking it into wine, not coffee, not espresso. You can do that. I won't get on your case about it if you do, but that's not traditional, and a lot of Italians will definitely get on your case about it if you ever do it in front of them. So, you've been warned. You have been warned. We're just not getting very lucky with these spots today, are we? I did manage to make my pizzelles. Those I actually made. Let's see here. It would have been Christmas Eve. So while everyone was playing games, well, it was Hyde. Hyde made them on Christmas Eve. Of course, I wouldn't be doing any kind of work for the family, you know? Oh, that makes it sound bad, doesn't it? Of course I wouldn't be doing any kind of work for the family. What do you think I am? Some kind of knock? I wouldn't tell you if I did. No. Hyde does not have that kind of family. Allegedly. Hypothetically. Rhetorically. He does not have that kind of family. Right? Yeah. And even if he did, he would never admit to it. He would never admit to it. Yeah. So, Hyde was there making pizzelles for, I don't know, probably an hour or 2 hours. They're very, very tough cookies to make, right? They're kind of like a very thin crepe, but made in a waffle iron. So they have that kind of waffle texture. And, oh, this is hilarious. They kind of do look like really thin waffles. Really, really thin waffles. You can look them up. They're pizzelles. That's Pizzelle. Pizzelle. Comes from the same base word as pizza, which means round, but it has the diminutive L at the end, which means small. So the cookie is literally named Small Round, which I think is a cute name. Other names for them happen to be snowflake cookies, because a lot of the patterns for a pizzelle iron, which is very similar to a waffle iron, have snowflake designs on them. And if you make the cookies smaller than the full waffle iron thing, then you get these edges that kind of look like the points of a snowflake, which is very cute. But if you make them the proper size, they're perfectly round, like a small round. Very cute names. But there was someone over, because I made these over at well, Hyde Senior's place, or Jekyll Senior's place as it were, and everybody went there. Everybody in my family went there. And I decided it would probably be best if I make the cookies as fresh as they can be, because pizzelles, like any kind of crispy cookie, will get soggy very quickly. They don't store well unless you put them in like an airtight container, and then you need a desiccant packet, something like silicon dioxide packets. I'm sure you've seen a silicon dioxide packet, like they come in all sorts of things. Usually tins of crackers have silicon dioxide packets, and you can reuse those to a certain extent. I don't know if that's ideal, but I've done that before. It's just I didn't have any on hand, so I decided to make them fresh, and I made Hyde do that. And I put them out. It was before dinner on Christmas Eve, so I put them out next to all of the other foodstuffs, right? There was there was a lot. This year they made roast beef and Italian sausage for like sandwiches and stuff. It was pretty good. I would highly recommend either of those. Shrimp scampi, there was baked cod, all kinds of different foods. Of course there were breads. There are always breads in any kind of Italian meal, so you can't get away without having some kind of carbs. And next to the breads was a platter of butter. And we had some family, the in-laws of a relatively newly married in-law over. We had her brother over because of unfortunate circumstances that don't really need to be talked about, right? But we had him over, and he was very new to the pizzelle, and he saw something that looked like a tiny waffle. And I get that. I get that. But he also saw the butter. And what he did was he buttered his pizzelle as if it were a waffle. And it was very unusual for all of us watching. That is not something that's done with a pizzelle. You do not put butter on a pizzelle. Pizzelles are mostly made of butter, in fact. So he buttered a cookie primarily made of butter. It was... I can't describe how I felt watching it. Like, it feels so wrong, you know? Have you ever had a moment where you're just like watching a train wreck or watching a car accident happen right in front of your eyes, and you're just in disbelief? It was a moment quite like that, only with a cookie and butter. And the worst part is, he kind of folded it in half and ate it like that. And it gets worse, because he wasn't done there. Like, you know how some people like chicken and waffles? Chicken and waffles is a fantastic southern dish, where you have a fluffy waffle with shredded chicken and gravy over top of it. I quite enjoy it. It's not a bad dish, in any sense of the word. And some people put, some people put maple syrup over that, even with the gravy. I'm not a big fan of that. No, I would rather have it without the maple syrup. But he dipped his pizzelle, which he had buttered, into some gravy, and then he ate that way. And I'm pretty sure my grandma is rolling over in her grave at having had to see that. You know, that is not something that you do. At most, a pizzelle should have, I don't know, cannoli cream if you make a rolled pizzelle, or powdered sugar if you make a fresh pizzelle. You can dust them in powdered sugar, and they look really cute because they have those snowflake patterns. So the powdered sugar kind of looks like snow. It's also slightly sweeter, which is nice because not every pizzelle ends up being sweet. It depends on your recipe, right? And my recipe tends to be a little bit undersweetened for most people's tastes, but it is a very traditional pizzelle recipe because my family comes from the region that, well, there are two regions in Italy now. It used to be one, but we're not going to talk about that. No, 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 we're not going to talk about that. So my family comes from one of those two regions. And you can figure that out, because that information's available online free. Because pizzelles are a fairly unusual cookie for a lot of families, but not for mine. Mine, every engagement party, every wedding, every holiday, essentially, has to have pizzelles, especially Christmas. And it just so happens that I'm the only one in my immediate family who still makes pizzelles, which is why I forced Hyde to do it for me this year. Yeah, it's good, right? Yeah, okay, I figured. So I made those. I didn't make the biscotti. I did make, and here's the first topic on our list today. I did make a double batch of those oatmeal raisin cookies that I showed on my channel. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but Jekyll here is a bit of a chemist, right? So it makes a lot of sense that I would know how to cook, doesn't it? Yeah, especially baking, because baking is a lot of chemistry, really. Chemistry and physics. That's all cooking really ever is. It's very applied, and there are some things that you know, if you know one thing about chemistry and physics, then you can do pretty well with cooking. You just gotta follow directions. And sometimes you will have problems, and things will go wrong. Like, say you're baking at high altitudes, and your bread or your cookies aren't fluffy enough. Well, that will happen, right? Like, the atmospheric pressure is gonna have drastic differences on whatever, you know? So you gotta figure that out. And you've gotta have some kind of basic understanding of science, or you've gotta look it up, which is a lot easier, I suppose. But I don't think... It's not always the case that you'll have access to online resources like Wikipedia or, I don't know, King Arthur. King Arthur is a great flower, by the way, and I do highly recommend their different specialty lines of flowers, but that is a bit of a tangent and digression. Point is, they have great baking resources if you ever need them. Yeah, oops, we got very lucky there. I clicked 1 over. So I did make those, and I made a double batch, because the recipe I gave in the video is only for 12 cookies. And that's very unusual, isn't it? To have a recipe that's only for 12 cookies. I know most recipes, especially during the holidays, they'll usually give you something like 3 dozen cookies, 4 dozen cookies. Let me take a sip of water here. And I do have the math for 2 or 3 or 4 dozen cookies. It's not hard to do the math. Like, I gave the easiest possible thing to have a dozen cookies, right? So if you want 2 dozen, you can just double that. And I did that for a very specific reason. It was to make it so it was a 1-bowl recipe. Because I thought, oh, this is garbage. This is hot garbage, isn't it? Yeah. I thought that YouTube would like having a 1-bowl recipe. And I think it went okay. Like, maybe I didn't quite capitalize on the timing exactly well enough. Maybe I was too late in putting that recipe out there. But I don't know. I got enough views that I was satisfied with having put that recipe out there. But I do think that maybe I was a little bit too late. Which is okay, you know. I'll get passive views on that next Christmas. Which is fine, right? That's the silver lining in this situation. It was the perfect amount for 1 tray in my oven too. Yeah. It should have been exactly the right amount for a standard oven, 1 standard cooking sheet, and it's very strange to me that you actually made the recipe. Like, there were people from who knows where out there in the world who made my cookie recipe. A recipe that I made entirely by myself from just my own understanding of cookies. Because I wanted a quick cookie recipe. Like, I'll give you a little behind the scenes here. I made that recipe as a sort of no-bake cookie knockoff, right? But obviously it's a bake cookie, right? So it's a fake no-bake that you bake. And I did before have the addition of cocoa powder, so it would be a lot more similar to a no-bake cookie. But I didn't like the texture when it was baked like that, right? You don't get the fudgy texture of the no-bake cookie. And I realized pretty early on, when I was making that recipe, I'm not gonna get the same texture. I might as well just make this an entirely different cookie. And I did. I turned it into a peanut butter cookie recipe, because those tend to be the easiest. Peanut butter is a fantastic baking ingredient. It can be used to replace things like oil, and it can give structure like egg stew when they're beaten. Yeah, so there are all sorts of different things you could use peanut butter for. You don't need, like, eggs for a peanut butter cookie recipe. You don't need... well, I have extra oil in my cookie recipe, right? But that's because I was playing with it, and I really like the texture more with the oil than I do without the oil. I think it also browns up a little bit better, but it probably shouldn't go too brown. It also makes things taste like peanut butter, though. Yeah. That might have been another thing that went wrong with my video getting views, right? Because I do realize that most of the world probably doesn't like peanut butter cookies. Just because most of the world probably doesn't like peanut butter. It is such a ubiquitous ingredient in American culture. Like, you could call our national sandwich the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and no one would bat an eye. We really wouldn't. It's pretty much the truth. So yeah, it is pretty ubiquitous here, but I recognize it's like Marmite to other people, or Vegemite, you know? A lot of people find it gross. And I understand that. Like, some people are allergic to peanuts, and they can't have them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the taste and texture of peanut butter. There are plenty of dishes out there that use, like, peanuts whole, right? They use whole peanuts for a sauce, or they boil their peanuts, or whatever. They make a stew or a soup, and you get a nice peanut dish. That's okay, right? Like, a lot of different cultures have that. Or you'll have cultures that'll just snack on peanuts, right? They'll just eat the peanuts whole, they'll pop them into their mouth and chew, chew, chew. And that's pretty good with, alcohol. But, peanut butter? Kind of a rarity outside of the USA. Or at least the kind of peanut butter that we would have in our supermarkets in the USA, right? Because if you go abroad, I imagine what you'll find is something a lot less hydrogenated, because we do hydrogenate our oil. Excuse me. We do hydrogenate our oil for peanut butter so that it stays nice and smooth. That's not normal. It's not normal like that. It's supposed to separate. The oil is supposed to separate from the rest of it. The fact that it doesn't is a modern marvel of engineering. And it's very strange that I'm talking about engineering in peanut butter, but it's true. Like, food scientists do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure you get a consistent product. And, yeah. The rest of the world, they kind of skip that step because it is slightly worse for you, probably. Like, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm just named Dr. Henry Jekyll, right? I'm not an actual doctor. I just play one in a book. Yeah. No. So the thing is, I understand that a lot of different cultures don't actually like peanut butter. That's fair. I know a lot of people in the UK, for example, do not like peanut butter. It's very common for peanut butter to be used in chocolates here in the USA, but when our chocolates get sent over to the UK, people always complain about the peanut butter ones. They're like, ew, this says peanut butter. And they do the same with cinnamon. Like, it's very strange. I don't understand why they hate cinnamon so much. But I guess over there it's more of like a holiday spice. Whereas here, it's just something that's always nice to have. Like, put a little pinch of cinnamon in any kind of cookie you make, it's already better. Put it in any kind of muffin you make, already better. I don't care what kind of muffin you're making, put a pinch of cinnamon in it. It'll do you wonders. And yet other cultures seem to think that that's a Christmas-only spice. You can't put it in anything but a mince pie or something. I don't know. It's very strange to me. But, I guess I shouldn't be saying that as a character who is, how should we say? English. Yeah. I am an Englishman. You know, I did have... this is going off the script. I did have, an English accent lined up for Jekyll, and I just never used it. Because I thought it wouldn't be relatable for American audiences, right? Like, no one wants to hear a fake English accent. No, even if it does have proper Victorian English intonations. Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that the raspy voice is a British affect. Yeah, I'm curious now. What are you curious about? The fake British accent? Ah, you didn't watch the recent melting apartment video? Yeah. Shame, shame, fake fan, fake fan. You didn't watch the video. Let's see if I can do something. Hello there, my name is Dr. Henry Jekyll. Now, today we're going to be playing Minesweeper. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but this raspiness in my voice is actually the height of culture in Victorian England. Yes? Yes. So, a lot of British gentlemen used to talk similar to this, although my accent is a little bit exaggerated. Yes, and also horrible. So it would have gone something like that. And, I don't know, yeah, that that would have been Jekyll's voice. Instead, it's just this, you know? It's just this. What were we talking about before that? Oh, cookies. We were talking about peanut butter. What's with the skull face? Oh, no, hold on. What's with the skull face here? Don't give me a dead. It wasn't that bad. Is it the music? Is the music too loud? It doesn't look too loud. It looks okay. My voice is still at least over halfway. I could turn that down a tiny bit. Yeah, I'll turn that down just a tiny bit. Yeah, just like that. What are we even playing? Cumbia City and Joan. Yeah, okay. That's fine, right? That's probably fine. Like, I know I'm waffling here. I don't have any obvious moves. And, I was talking about cookies. And I somehow got into a tangent on cinnamon and peanut butter. Right, peanut butter. A lot of people in the world don't actually enjoy the taste of peanut butter. They don't enjoy the texture of peanut butter either, especially American peanut butter. There are big differences in the different brands of peanut butter out there, right? You've got natural peanut butters, which separate into an oily layer on top and a solid layer on the bottom. And that tends to be how physics wants peanut butter. But modern engineering, we've hydrogenated the oils so they stay in suspension for longer. They don't separate nearly as much. That's a brilliant thing. I really can't overstate that. Like, I am always amazed when I see a jar of peanut butter. I open it up, and it's always creamy. That's fantastic. You have no idea how fantastic that is, unless you understand the physics of density and separation. Yeah, because less dense things tend to float to the top. That's true of even solids, by the way. Like, I don't talk about this too much, but solids do the same thing, and it happens all the time on Earth. Specifically in the Earth, as it were. There are density separations in rock, solid rock, and one of the most common ones that is actually of any kind of economic value happens to be oil traps, right? So what happens is you get a rock high in hydrocarbons, right? And those hydrocarbons are the breakdown products of organic materials in between the pores of the rock. Because rocks are just made of, sedimentary rocks are just made of smaller grains of larger rocks. They are just rock Frankensteins, if you will. And in between those grains, you can get hydrocarbons trapped, because you get solid organic materials that get cooked and pressed under pressure. So, when you bury that, there is a density separation that might occur, right? Like, those liquid fractions, liquid and gas fractions of the hydrocarbons can move between the grains of those sedimentary rocks, right? And they can pool in a non-porous section of the rock. And this would be a reservoir, right? Yes, this is a oil or gas reservoir. And that's a fantastic thing too. Like, most people don't think about... Okay. I said we were going to talk about solids doing the same thing. And I didn't talk about solids doing the same thing, did I? I talked about oil and gas, which are fluids. And fluids are not solids, they are liquids and gases. Fun fact, gases are a fluid. Okay, let's talk about solids. Alright, think Jekyll, think back to a solid separation. So you would have things like, Bowen's reaction series. Bowen's reaction series is a neat little tool that none of you probably care anything about. But essentially what it is the sequence of crystallization in any kind of magma, right? So, depending on the type of magma, you can start at one point on the Bowen's reaction series, and you can follow it along to see what's going to crystallize out of a melt next. And that would kind of be a density separation in solids if you consider magma partially solid. What else could we consider for solids? Oh man, my favorite Minesweeper story. No, we're not doing Minesweeper today, Conqueror. Good to see you. We're talking about Bowen's reaction series today, and how there are solids that undergo gravity-based density separation. It's a fascinating field of science called rheology. It's all about the plastic deformation of solids. No, we're not actually talking about that. Although I was for a second. Nice to see you again. Let me take a drink. We were talking about the holiday. And, the holidays. I do hope that you also had a fantastic, well, I guess holiday season? It's still not quite over for some people, is it? So, if you're one of those people, I hope it's still going well for you. Yeah. Jekyll hopes so, at least. We were talking about the peanut butter cookies, weren't we? Yeah. So, it was very strange to see that anyone, like halfway across the world or otherwise, was making a recipe that I made myself, just out of necessity. So, that was great. What else did I do over the holiday season? Oh, right. So, when my family gets together... this is fun, right? When my family gets together... I knew it. When my family gets... You know, Jekyll is going to answer, or going to respond eventually. He's going to talk about how his family gets together, and they always have fun times playing games together. I gave you a little hint of that when I was talking about the Pizzelles, right? Yeah, I remember now. It's all coming back to Jekyll. So, when my family gets together, we all play games during the holidays. It's a very Italian tradition. And depending on the holiday, we actually have different sets of games. So, for the December holidays, before New Year's Eve, I guess. Yeah, New Year's Eve is always cards. But before that, we play multiplayer or team-based card games. And this year, we happen to pick up monikers. I don't know if any of you have ever played monikers. If you have, please say so in the chat if you enjoy the game. If not, I will explain it very briefly. Monikers is kind of like Codenames, right? And if you've never played Codenames, I will explain it very briefly. No, I'm not going into that. Basically, there is a word on a card, and you draw that card, and you have to get your team to explain or to say the word on the card, yeah. And there are different rules for different rounds of the game. Monikers, as opposed to codenames, has 3 rounds. The first round, you can say whatever you want, so long as you don't tell the team the word on the card. Like, there's a description on the monikers cards, so if you don't know what the word means, you can just read that, like, verbatim. I'll give you an example here. One of the words was defenestration. That's a big word, right? Like, a lot of people don't know about the word defenestration. But if you read the little description on the card, it tells you exactly what it means. And it means to throw someone out a window. It's a fantastic word, right? How often are you going to use the word defenestration? Probably not often in your life. If you do, remind me not to go to your house, yeah? Now, I know historically there was a defenestration of somewhere or other, but Jekyll doesn't really know human history, right? He's bound to repeat it. My favorite is ibophobia. I don't know ibophobia. Please do tell me what that means, Konkuro. Ibophobia. Ibo. There are roots in there. It's the fear of palindromes. Oh. Well, it's not exactly a palindrome, is it? Like, that's a very clever name for a fear of, a phobia about palindromes. But you're missing the H, right? Like, ibophobia. That would be ibophobia. That would be a palindrome, right? So for those who don't know, palindromes are spelled the same way forward and backwards, and they have to be a word, because if they're sentences, they're a different thing. Hyde doesn't, Jekyll doesn't remember what the other word is. I misspelled it a lot. Whoever made that is a demon. Yeah, that is a very clever thing to do. Like, it had to be someone who enjoys wordplay who would do that. And, of course, they have to have a very sick sense of humor to misspell it like that. Yeah, no. It's fair, right? Like, people like to have fun. There are all sorts of scientists out there in the world, right? And linguistic scientists, they're included. And one of the fun things they like to have fun with is roots in words. So if they can get away with it, I don't blame them at all, right? It's the same thing as like naming a snail after a colleague you don't like. I've seen that happen, by the way. I won't tell you the name of a snail, but I will tell you that there is a snail named after a colleague that someone didn't like. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were other things out there in the world named after people that people didn't like. Things like slugs and snakes and ferrets. Yeah, I'm sure that happens a lot. I'm sure it happened a lot back in the day, too. Like, here's a fun story. A lot of the times, expeditions were funded. Like, expeditions across the sea, to different colonies, wherever. Yeah, fun history. Ignore that part. Again, Jekyll doesn't care about the human aspect. The human aspect is completely irrelevant to me. We're just talking about the animals, the plants, and the minerals. So a lot of the times, those natural things were named after the funders of an expedition. And there are some humorous accounts in history of, like, kings getting their names on, like, wood rats. Like forest mice, you know? The strangest of things that you would associate a king's name with. Like, that was the first thing they saw. And that was the first thing they named. After the king, or whoever funded them. So dukes, counts, whatever. I always thought that was hilarious, because you can't really control what they discover. It's always kind of a gamble. Are you happy if you're getting, like, a wood rat named after you? Maybe. Like, it's nice. Like, you'll be immortalized forever. Your name will always be associated with a mouse from the woods. That's always been strange. It's always a lottery, you know? Yeah. I just realized that I have been tangenting for about, I don't know, 5 minutes when I was trying to tell you about monikers, right? Yeah, I was gonna talk about monikers. So, after the defenestration thing, and the iabophobia, which is a fantastic word, thank you, Konkuro, we're going to get back to the discussion of the games I played during the holidays. It's actually... no, I'm not gonna tangent into that. I know. We're gonna just go to monikers, yeah. So, the second round of monikers is that you have to use only one word, right? You can't use the words that, okay, no, you can use the words that are in the description. You can't use the word on the card, like the word you're trying to get people to guess. But you can use any other one word. So, this is where memory comes into play for the game, right? The first round, you're also trying to remember what words and cards there are in the deck, right? So the second round, you kind of have to use loose associations. So if I were going to have the word defenestration, I might pick the word window, and I might use that, and I would say window, and the team would have to understand that I meant defenestration. It's a very fun game. Now the third round is even more fun. It's more of a visual gag, right? Because the third round is entirely charades. And if you don't know what charades is, it's French. And no one cares about the French. No, sorry France. I do care about the French. I like French bread. Like, I'm a big fan of French baking techniques. And I have a sourdough, which I started, I think, in 2016. No, it was 2018. Yeah, I started my sourdough starter in 2018, and I've had it alive ever since. Oh, I feel old. My sourdough starter could be in kindergarten, I guess. That's not my joke, but I will use it. Yeah, so I feed that every day. No one wants to talk about sourdough. No one wants to talk about sourdough, Jekyll. That's fine. I feed that every day, and I don't, like, put it in the fridge or anything. I know a lot of people get away with putting their sourdough in the fridge for a week, and then feeding it. I don't like that, right? I think you get too acidic a culture. Like, if you think about a sourdough culture, it's a symbiotic community of wild bacterias and wild yeasts. Sometimes it's referred to as a SCOBY, or symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. You just take the first letter, SCOBY. And like anything in nature, if you alter the temperature of the environment, you will alter what kind of yeasts and bacteria grow in your SCOBY, right? That's just natural selection. So, I don't really enjoy that. I don't enjoy having it grow in different cultures, or in different environments. Yeah, I like to keep my selective pressures consistent, as it were. That way, when I'm ready to bake, I can always just use it as it is, on the countertop, where I keep it, in its nice little spot, only for it. Because it's a cute little sourdough starter, yes it is. Yes it is. Such a cutie. Yeah. I do prefer talking about monikers to sourdough starters. So let's get back to that. So the third round is charades, and if you don't speak French, that means you act it out. You mime it. And, actually, I think mime comes from a French word too. Pantomiming. Is panto French, or is that, like, Greek? I'd have to look that up. But yeah, you've acted out. That would be the third round. So if I were going to, again, draw the card for defenestration, I might pick up one of my family members and mime throwing them out the window. And yeah, that is a situation that did happen. Now, I wasn't the one who picked up anyone, of course, and I wasn't the one who was picked up. But I could have done it. And it was very interesting, right? Like, I don't usually play these games. Yeah, I figured. Outside of the holidays. So, I didn't really know what the game was all about. Yeah. I really... This game, children, is going to drive me even more insane. It's been 10 different Zatsu-Sweeper streams, and I've won exactly 0 times. Like, you'd think that maybe I would pick a different game by now, but I'm actually having fun with this, you know? Like, it's part of the challenge. Okay, that one's on me. I did see that, yeah. I know. That's fine. But eventually I will win. I'm sure of it, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have to win eventually. If I don't win, then what's the point of the entire series, right? Like, it's just a waste. And I'm not much of a gambler, except when I gamble on the holidays, playing card games with the family. Like, everybody does that, right? You go to your family's place and you play card games and you gamble quarters and nickels for different card games like Tripoli or poker or even blackjack, right? Yeah, blackjack's a fun one. Everyone can play blackjack, even the children. I think blackjack is a great card game for children if you're going to get them hooked on gambling. Yeah. Obviously do not hook your children on gambling. I don't have children, so I'm allowed to say that, right? I'm allowed to tell you how to get your children hooked on gambling. Yeah, I think that's fair, isn't it? So, I got one card, and it's a very important card. So how many nickels did you steal from your nieces and nephews? Oh, no. No, they weren't there this year. It was only the adults. Only the adults were gambling this year. I made about $8, yeah. It was mostly from Tripoli, and if you don't know Tripoli, that's another... It's a card game with multiple rounds, right? So there's a round where if you have certain hearts, you get money from the pot, and if you have, like the 10 of hearts, the jack of hearts, the queen and king, and ace of hearts, and if you have combos of those, you get more money. Whatever, you know? It's one of those. And then the second round is you make a poker hand. And I make all of my money on the poker hands. Because I have a great poker face. Like, I have a really good poker face. And some of you might be able to recognize that in my voice. I can be fairly monotonous. Yes, I can. And people don't necessarily know what I'm thinking. Because I have a good control over my facial expressions. It's true. And, yeah, that's where I made, like, 7 out of my $8. The third round is... You start with your lowest suit. Whoever wins the poker game starts with the lowest suit and the lowest card in their hand, and they put that down on a pile, and the one to the next of them builds off of that with their lowest card of the same suit, or if they don't have a low card of the same suit, they move to their lowest card of a different suit. And that goes around until everybody's out. Whoever is out first wins the rest of the money in the pot. Or at least the kitty. It's called the kitty. Isn't that cute? It's called the kitty. I'm teaching you how to gamble. Yeah, I wasn't planning on teaching you all how to gamble, but I am teaching you card games. I have significantly less control than average over facial expressions, and am I going to be hopeless at poker? You know, there are some good poker players out there who just have horrible poker faces. And the only way I've seen that ever work is not sunglasses. Do not wear sunglasses, unless your eyes betray you. In which case, maybe sunglasses. Like some people, they can't help but to look at their high cards. That's always a bad tell. You can fake that though. Paper bags with holes? You could still see your eyes. Like maybe. I don't think that's legal in most tournaments though. So maybe if you're playing with friends and family and you really want to win, you could do that. But your best bet is going to be to implement fake tells. If you don't know what a tell is a behavior that people do unconsciously when they have a good or bad hand. So if you have a good hand and say a person has a good hand and they're rearranging cards in their hand, sometimes they'll rearrange them in order of high to low, or sometimes in order of how many of the same suit they have if they're going for a flush. And you've got to watch them, those tells. If they smile when they pick up a card and they're not really aware of their smiling, that would be a bad tell for you, right? Yeah, you would understand that they have a good card. So the only way to get past that is to implement fake tells. You've got to smile when you get a bad card, and then you make it look like the opposite is true. People will pick up on that after a while, but it's usually good enough for the first couple rounds that you can clear them out, yeah. Can you give us examples of tells of the people you bankrupted that $8 from? Okay, let's see. One of my brothers has very bad eyesight, right? It's bad enough that he can't really see the numbers on the cards as big as they are. It's that bad. So he'll move his cards away from him to actually look at what he has. And when he does that, he does rearrange things. And that's what I was talking about when you're rearranging things for different suits. If you're going for a flush, or from high to low for a straight or pairs. Like if you put two cards together, usually that means you have two cards that go together. A pair, or similar suit, or a straight forming. Yeah. So he would do that. And I'm not sure if he's aware of that, but he's been doing that for years. So that's one example. I couldn't really give you any other off the top of my head. That's like the most obvious one, and everyone knows to look out for it. Except for him, ironically, you know? Because if we tell him that, then we're not going to win so easily. So you gotta put those fake tells in there, if you ever play poker professionally. Yeah. You gotta really mix it up. Like, some of the best poker players, they don't have good poker faces because, you know, a poker face is a lack of information. But a lack of information isn't always your best bet in war, right? If you can give the enemy false information and make them believe it's true, that's even better than giving them no information, because then they're working on the entirely wrong premise, right? Say you want to attack a certain area, right? And you really want to attack it, but you know that they have resources stationed near it. Then you've got to give them false information that would make those resources go to a different location. And that's happened a lot in warfare. If you've ever studied The Art of War by Sun Tzu, then you might know about how important misinformation is in warfare. Yes. Now, if you've never studied it, I can't help you, right? Like, everybody should just study Sun Tzu. Yeah, I figured. Yeah, okay, so we were talking about monikers, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we were talking about monikers. Not gambling. If I get this, like, video taken down by YouTube, I'm going to be very, very upset. Because I am not supporting gambling. Like, I know I told people to teach their kids how to gamble using blackjack. But that's a joke, YouTube. That's a joke, YouTube. You know, between friends. How long have we been friends, YouTube? My account's like years old. I'm not a bot or anything. Just cut me some slack. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. That was a good run. Cut me some slack here, YouTube. Back to monikers. So the card I drew was on round 3, and if you've been paying attention and I haven't lost you through all of my tangenting, round 3 is charades. The card I drew was the word necromancer. Fairly simple word, isn't it? Necromancer. How would you act out a necromancer? I'll tell you how I acted it out. I went down to the floor, and I mimicked rising out of my grave, like a zombie. And then I put my arms out in front of me. I'm doing it now, you just can't see it. And I acted like one of those slow Romero zombies from the Night of the Living Dead. Yeah, I was acting like one of those. And that actually worked. But here's the thing, when I was going against the ground like that, and I will admit, there was quite a bit of drinking that night, as there is at any Italian get-together. And I went to the ground a little too hard, right? And there was an audible thump as my tailbone collided with the hardwood flooring. And to this day, what is this, I don't know, weeks later, it is still bruised. And it still hurts to sit. Why am I laughing at that? Because if I don't laugh, I'll cry. No, it's not quite that bad. But it does make sitting very uncomfortable. And even, like, rearranging myself in bed, yeah, sad face. It is a very sad thing, isn't it? Like, even rearranging myself in bed when I'm lying down, if I move a little awkwardly, if I bend my back a little bit, it pulls on that bruise, and it hurts. So, what I was going to say about that was, this is probably going to be a shorter stream, because I am sitting down in a very uncomfortable position. But, I was going to tell you that about 40 minutes ago. So we'll see where this takes us, yeah? Yeah. Fun fact, I actually did win that game of monikers on Necromancer. So the sacrifice was not only worth it, but yeah, extra worth it. Yeah. Because how often do you get to say you sacrificed your health or your well-being for a win, right? That's one of those things that's like extra points. Look at how far you've come because you made the sacrifice. I think sacrifices, and self-sacrifices especially, are one of the most human traits out there. It is one of the more irrational values for a human to hold, don't you think? Like, there's nothing more irrational for an animal than to go against the self-preservation instinct. You know what I mean? That's like number 1. Preserve self to reproduce. Once you get past that, everything that you do against it is irrational. If you're not preserving yourself, your genes are going to die out. Perfectly rational to preserve the self. Jumping on landmines, jumping on grenades, jumping in front of bullets. That's very, very strange behavior. Very human. And I'm very fond of these human irrationalities, as it were. I think they should be very high on the list of values that we as a species like to hold. And in recent years, I do think that we've gotten away from some of these more irrational values, like loyalty and self-sacrifice, and well, I won't get too political about it, but loyalty and self-sacrifice are always 2 important values out there, right? I don't really care what other people think. Those things are important, yeah. Because they're very human. And you don't find them in things like other intelligent animals like dolphins, do you? No. Dolphins are jerks. Yeah. They'll torture... Okay. Yeah, okay. So, that's basically how my holidays went. I bruised my tailbone, and the rest of them were pretty miserable because I had to do family activities despite that. I still haven't gotten into the swing of my old habits and schedules. I feel like I'm like a half step out of sync with everything since I've gotten back. I've gotten back and I started working again. Because, yeah, I work. But this is a hobby, okay? This isn't my job. I can't afford to make this my job. But it's a hobby. And, yeah, I feel like everything's just slightly out of sync with my usual schedules. I'm not quite back yet. And part of that might be this bruise on my back. Because it does make sitting down for long periods of time a lot more difficult, which happens to be part of my current job. You know, I've had a lot of jobs over the years, and sitting down for a lot of time wasn't always part of my job description. But with this one it is, so I don't know if that's a saving grace or not, with a bruised tailbone. Like, I could imagine if I had to bend over a lot, that might pull at the bruise a little bit more, right? But if I don't bend over a lot and I just sit down, that just makes it very uncomfortable for the entire day. Can you give us example? Oh, sorry. No, I already gave you examples, didn't I? Right, okay. I'll tell you another thing that was fun over the holidays. And this isn't the first time I've seen this product. Excuse me. Should have muted that. I'm too used to not muting that. I'll tell you another thing that was fun over the holidays, yeah? Like I said this in a video. I'm not sure which one. But I looked at myself in the mirror. And I saw the strangest thing. Like, it's something so obvious that you have to know it's there. And if you don't know it's there, I can only imagine that you're not paying attention to yourself. But I looked into the mirror and I saw my reflection. And in my eyebrows, you know what I saw? I saw red hair. Which is very strange, because my eyebrows have always been brown, right? Like, I've always thought they were brown, but apparently it's not. Apparently my eyes, or my eyebrows, are not brown. They're red. They're red and brown. And I thought this is, how do I put this? Like, I look at myself every day in the mirror, and I didn't notice this one glaringly obvious fact about my eyebrows. How close do you look at yourself in the mirror? You know? Is there some kind of familiarity bias going on there that I just didn't notice, and it's always been there? Or has my DNA been changed by some kind of cosmic radiation, and I now have red hair in my eyebrows? Or is it just a factor of aging, and my hair is getting redder as I age? I don't know. I really don't know, but it's strange, and it freaked me out. Because, again, I do look at myself every morning in the mirror. It's not a narcissism thing. Like, I know what you're thinking. Oh, he looks at himself in the mirror, he must be vain. No. There's just a mirror over my sink. So when I brush my teeth, and I hope all of you out there are brushing your teeth, dear children. Because if you're not brushing your teeth, there are going to be problems, dear children. Yeah. Hold on a second. I'm not feeling this. Let's, oops. You didn't see that. Yeah, okay, Jekyll had his time, and it's going to be Hyde for the rest of the stream. I'm running a little out of steam. Yeah, that's better. So, I don't know, it might be a familiarity bias, but I've never really noticed the red in my eyebrows, you know? And I do look at myself in the mirror every time I wake up. I brush my teeth, I wash my face, and then before bed, I do the same thing. So I have like at least 2 times a day when I am in front of a mirror, looking at myself. And it's amazing what the human brain doesn't notice until it does, right? Like, that's the strange part. Like, my human brain, my human brain as opposed to my monkey brain, or my collection of human brains, as it were, my human brain made this realization, yeah? And it didn't have to. It didn't have to make this realization so obvious and conscious to me. It could have just played it out. It could have been background noise that got filtered out. It wouldn't have made a difference to me if I had known that I had red hair in my eyebrows or not. But my brain decided that day, for whatever reason, that I needed to know that there was red hair in my eyebrows. And it's very strange, because there are all sorts of biases in the human brain, right? What makes one piece of information more important than any other? I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. Because, oh, that's wrong. The human brain is what decides, and we're talking about the human brain. So, there's always going to be that bias. How can you talk about something from beyond the bias of something if you need that something to talk about that something? I don't know. And I don't think we'll ever know. We'll never have any way to verify or falsify any kind of information beyond the subjective and intersubjective, will we? And if you don't know what those words mean, subjective means your own experience, you as a person, how you experience things, whereas the intersubjective means how multiple people together experience the same phenomenon, or similar enough to the same phenomenon to call it that intersubjectively, together, between subjective realities. Yeah. So, that was my profound thought about my eyebrows, you know? Everything's so profound, isn't it? Like, we were talking about the profound nature of realizing that someone half a world away was making my cookies. Multiple someones, in fact. That's the strangest thing, right? It wasn't just one someone that made my cookies over the holidays. It was multiple someones. And that's just what I know about. There were over 100 views on that video. Maybe if half of them made my cookies, I could have cookies all over the world. Entirely my own recipe. And it traveled all over the globe. That is such a strange thing, and it wouldn't have happened if I weren't a streamer, you know? If I weren't making YouTube content, it would have never happened like that. I would have never had the reach for that. Which is kind of sad, if you think about it, because there are so many people out there who have so many more interesting things to share than a cookie recipe, and they just never get the chance to, which is very sad. So I would of course encourage anyone who has any kind of thing to say, any kind of message to give the world, or any kind of, any kind of, I just gotta make sure here, 1, 2, 3, any kind of shareable, I don't know, information that you're proud of, you've gotta share it. You've gotta share it however you can, if you want to preserve it. And I know human preservation of information has not always historically been that great, right? Like, how many library fires have there been? Are you winning, son? Hi, Roxy. Good to see you. I don't think I've seen you around before, so this is probably your first time here. No, I never win Minesweeper, but thank you. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So, library fires happen all the time, right? Like Alexandria, Carthage, even Britain during the... Yeah, let's not go into that history. So, no. If there's information out there that you want to preserve and you want to spread to the rest of the world, you've got to do it however you can, you know? If you don't do it, no one else will. And that's sad, because there are so many things, so many more interesting things than a cookie recipe, right? Yeah, I think so. Like, don't get me wrong, I like those cookies. Otherwise, I wouldn't have shared the recipe. Like, you're welcome for having my recipe for cookies. I don't care what Jekyll says, you know? That's my recipe for cookies. I made it, not Jekyll. Okay. So, that was about it. But, we're going to go for the end of the game, and then we're going to end stream, yeah. Because, again, I have bruised my tailbone, as unfortunate as it is. So, we're going to end this game out on another topic on my list here. No, we're not going to talk about the major topic here. I do want to talk about a product I recently found in a discount grocery store. Isn't that a great way to start a segue? I want to talk about this product I found in a discount grocery store. It's almost as good a line as, I want to talk about this product I found under the dumpsters. Which is essentially where the discount grocery store finds its products, you know? I'm sure they find a lot of their products under dumpsters. Yeah, just pallets of them. You'd be surprised how much food waste there is in America. Maybe you wouldn't. If you're part of this part of the world, there is an awful lot of food waste. And it's really a shame, because you can do a lot of things with that food waste, right? You can feed hogs. Sorry, tangenting. So I found this product, and it's called Quantum Energy Squares. It's a fascinating little brick of basically fruit pulp and coconut husk, and I'm pretty sure it's sawdust as well. So, a bunch of fiber. No. It's seeds and fruit pulp and coconut sometimes. Mostly date pulp, though. Like, there's a joke there, but I'm not gonna make it, it's too low fruit, right? Have you ever had a date? Haha, lucky us. And, no. Dates are... dates are delicious, but, when you extract the juice out of them, and you turn that into a brick, it's kinda less delicious, don't you think? A little bit, yeah. So, the selling point of this discounted product, which is made of some kind of fiber or another, is that it contains natural organic caffeine. Like, the packaging makes it look like it is healthier than a cup of coffee, because it contains, as implied, more natural caffeine than a cup of coffee. I don't know how that makes sense in any way, shape, or form. In any world, in fact. Because most caffeine that's extracted for, like, caffeine pills, and even caffeine muffins or caffeine chocolates are a popular one, it comes from coffee. It's extracted through the brewing of coffee. And that would be the natural caffeine. So you can't really get more natural caffeine than from coffee. You can synthesize purer caffeine through chemicals in a lab, but you can't make it more natural than coffee, no. So their selling point was that it was a natural, organic caffeine bar with fiber, protein, and everything good for you. And it was vegan. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. That it's vegan. Which makes sense, right? Like, it's just fruit pulp and seeds and some kind of mystery fiber. Surprisingly, they do not taste bad. Like, that is not why they were discounted, I'm sure. They actually taste pretty good. I really enjoy their mocha almond. I don't enjoy their coconut flavors, but their mocha almond almost, if you close your eyes, tastes like a brownie. Almost. But it was very strange that they were trying to sell it as a natural caffeine supplement, when I think they should have sold it as something a little bit different, right? I think there is a market... Okay, well, that's the game. Let me finish this thought, and then I will say my goodbyes. I think there is a market for a caffeine supplement that is also a fiber bar, right? And that's what it essentially is. It's a caffeine tablet / fiber bar that, you really don't, you know, you don't need both. So, you can have your caffeine on the daily without looking like a caffeine pill-popping fiend, and you can have your fiber bar without looking like some kind of old man. Yeah. So, if you're listening, Quantum Energy Squares, I think you really should rebrand to, you know, being a not so, I don't know, pill poppy, not so old caffeine fiber bar. Yeah. You should stick to that instead of trying to make it natural. Because nothing's more natural than a cup of coffee. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, I had a lot of fun losing at Minesweeper again. I know it's been a while. It's probably been, what, 2-3 weeks since the last time I've been here. And if I did my job right, none of you have really noticed my absence, right? Yeah, because my videos should have been going out pretty much daily. I think Jekyll talked about that in the beginning of the stream, right? Yeah. So, it's going to be more business as usual for the rest of our, I don't know, time together. I don't foresee myself having to do anything that would make me not have a stream, but I will let you know if there won't be a stream in the future. I do apologize for not saying anything these last 2 weeks, but I kind of figured it was obvious, one being Christmas and the other being the New Year. Yeah, sorry if anyone was disappointed by me not streaming. I kind of figure most of you are watching for my daily videos and shorts as opposed to these streams. But if you're here for specifically the streams, I will continue to provide this content as well. And yeah, I appreciate you all coming. I appreciate anyone who stopped by. Especially new faces like you, Roxy. Good to see you. Yeah. I love you all, but it's time for me to go. Yeah. See you all next time. Hyde out. Party hard. You too.